Last Thursdayism is the idea that the universe came into existence last Thursday, just with the appearance and physical attributes of a universe that's 13.8 billion years old. With us, I mean you, I'll get to that in a moment, having false memories of your life, including that awful thing you did when you were 12. Thank God that didn't happen. Oh, and there's no evidence you can use to prove this wrong. The universe just be that way after coming into existence last Thursday. But what does science say about this? That really isn't very scientific. It's basically what our boy Karl Popper would say about ideas like this. For Popper and many scientists, a theory must be falsifiable for it to be scientific. Falsifiable in that it must be able to be logically contradicted with an empirical test. The claim all swans are white is falsifiable. You can test it with the condition that if you find a non-white swan, the theory would be falsified. If I had, say, a lucky jar of peanut butter, which I claimed made me luckier due to a cosmic panda thinking it was a good time, I could certainly make it fit my narrative. Something lucky happen? Well, I was carrying my lucky peanut butter. Something unlucky happen? Well, think of how much worse it could have been if my lucky peanut butter weren't on hand to make me luckier. The panda has truly blessed me today. Oh, and if you destroy the peanut butter or take it away, then it doesn't matter because the luck can travel through time from when I first touched it to now. If I went to some scientists and asked them to study it, they'd probably say no, for a lot more reasons than my theory not being falsifiable, but still. Even if I had a lot of money, I don't by the way, but I do have a philosophy degree. The scientific method, giving us the power of prediction, the iPhone, and doomsday level threats, seeing if other pesky variables are at play and whatnot. Take that last Thursdayism, you unscientific nonsense. There's no way to falsify you, but hang on a sec, there's lots of unscientific nonsense that I love, like philosophy, ethics, even part of maths. Just because something falls outside the realm of scientific study doesn't mean it's not true or worth discussing. At least, not necessarily. For instance, you could say that 1 + 1 = 2 is true by definition, or deductively true. A bachelor being an unmarried man is another example of this. Plus, I think it's also pretty important to discuss things like ethics and politics. But last Thursdayism can't be true, can it? It does sound like really ridiculous. Do we have anything else in our brain arsenal to combat last Thursdayism? Occam's razor can be a good one to go to. Occam's razor can shave away unlikely explanations for certain phenomena, stating that simpler explanations are more likely to be correct. It doesn't guarantee that the simpler theory is correct, but it is a great guide in the search for truth. And let's be honest, what is the simpler explanation? That all of your memories are false because the universe popped into existence last Thursday, or that not be the case? Being a human, it's pretty okay sometimes. You get to have experiences, like tasting things, seeing this cool flower, how pretty, and having a headache. It's great perceiving these sensations in a qualitative way, enjoying the colour of the flower, the flavour of the food, and maybe not enjoying so much the pain of a headache. Philosophers call this qualia. In other words, our individual subjective conscious experience. Consciousness is great, isn't it? You get to think about things, particularly at 4 AM. It's also cool that you get to live in a world where everyone else also has these experiences, which is a fab part of the human condition, such as it being pretty fun to do things like hang out with friends and fall in love. When you hang out with friends to, say, share a bottle of red wine, everyone else is noticing the taste of the wine and the redness of the wine, right? I mean, you could use Descartes' I think therefore I am to be absolutely certain that your own thoughts exist, in that whatever you doubt, you're at least thinking about the doubt so you can be sure that the thinking's real. But that line of thinking only proves the existence of your own thoughts. The concept of a philosophical zombie is a person that appears to have sentience and qualia, but doesn't. But apart from that, would be indistinguishable from any other person. They may eat a tasty bit of cheese and appear to enjoy it, but in fact they wouldn't have experienced the cheese at all. And how do we know we don't live in a zombie universe where everyone apart from you is a philosophical zombie? Is it possible that you're the only being in reality that's ever experienced Shrek 2? The philosophical zombie thing, that's not true, is it? Personally, I don't think so. Let me explain. Is consciousness purely physical? You know, with all that lovely qualia and sentiency stuff. Is consciousness part of the physical brain with the chemical and electrical processes, or is there something metaphysical, like a soul? Well, for the purpose of this, I'm assuming consciousness is physical because I watched a lot of edgy atheist YouTube in 2009. There doesn't seem to be a case for your brain having a special physical property that makes you conscious that wouldn't apply to everyone else with said physical brain. Well, unless everyone else is just computer code and your brain is in a vat somewhere hooked up to the simulation. If you notice my haircut's different, that is a glitch within the simulation. The simulation hypothesis, because apparently a hyper-advanced civilization would want to simulate me chilling in my room on a Saturday afternoon. I wonder why they simulated that time where I ate an entire Toblerone in one day. The simulation argument was popularised by Nick Bostrom. Here's me oversimplifying it, like a lot of things in this video. So basically, Nick Bostrom's like, one of the following must be true. That it's very unlikely that a civilization will be able to create a high fidelity ancestor simulation. It's very unlikely they'd want to simulate us, I mean me, or you, I can't remember the point I made earlier, or we're living in a simulation. If civilization is able to create a simulation, they might make a few of them. You know how like loads of copies of The Sims got sold in our reality? This is why I don't have a pool. Plus, people living within these simulations might be able to create simulations of their own. I'm sure you see where I'm going with this. If there are lots, say billions or trillions of these simulations, it's unlikely that we're in base reality. Computers have been getting pretty good lately, especially compared to the crap computers we had back in the day that could only accomplish tasks like help send us to the moon. Who knows what technology will look like in 100 years. I also appreciate that simulations could be pretty cool, and I'd understand if people wanted to run them. Every couple of years, for instance, I play like an entire day on The Sims. The Sims 3, of course, it's the best one. Before not playing it again for a couple of years. But still. Now, there are multiple arguments against the simulation hypothesis, things ranging from computer power to the complexity of consciousness. Or maybe advanced civilizations have better things to do. I'm sure there's lots of things they could simulate. Why would they simulate me making this video? One of my favourite thoughts about the simulation hypothesis is that it's unlikely that we live in a simulation, unless one day we discover simulation technology in our own reality, in which case it becomes likely that we do live in a simulation, because it would mean a civilization was able to create a simulation. One of my favourite YouTube channels, Cool World, did a really fantastic video on the simulation hypothesis. I'd really recommend you watch it. After you finish this video, of course. I'll leave a link below. Ed, isn't all this skeptical stuff a stupid intellectual game? Well, I was just about to talk about how nobody has any free will, but yeah. I guess you're right. Let's say you're dreaming right now. You'll still have to go to your dream job to pay your dream bills. Well, maybe not your dream job. You get what I'm trying to say. You're picking up what I'm putting down. So on a level, it could be pretty fun or terrifying to think about this sort of thing. Practically nothing really changes, even if you are living in a simulation and nobody else is real. And more broadly, when it comes to living life, it's probably best to just ignore this stuff. But I do think that being skeptical of things and having the tools to do so is really important. It allows us to think critically in our beliefs about things, both individually as well as collectively. Perhaps some of these beliefs are holding us back. For instance, think of all the things that are justified on the fact that things have always been done this way. This is falling for the appeal to tradition fallacy, that something is good or true because things have always been done that way. A healthy skepticism of beliefs can come in handy. Thanks for watching my video equivalent of a slightly high Wikipedia rabbit hole. Hopefully I've given you something new to think about. Laters.